down here with Alan Sprenkel.
Yes.
What's up, buddy?
Not a whole lot. Looking at some good stuff today.
Okay, you got some movies. What's the latest?
Well, the first one is we're coming up pretty quick on the summer movie season. A whole bunch of new stuff coming out. You know, we got Iron Man 3 coming out in the next couple of weeks. There's the new Tom Cruise movie coming out. But one that is coming out that Mary and I are both really, really, really looking forward to is Despicable Me 2.
Okay.
We are huge fans of the original one, which came out about 2 years ago. The way this movie is set up is, you remember the old school James Bond villains with like a Goldfinger, Dr. No, all those ones? Picture a movie centered around one of those guys.
Okay.
And they're getting into fights with another more modern James Bond villain, and the villains are trying to one-up each other.
Okay.
That was the real loose basic premise of the first movie. In the second movie, you have essentially James Bond's group bringing the villain into the good guy group to go after another bad guy.
Okay.
So they're bringing in more James Bond references, more great characters. Steve Carell does the voice of the main character. They haven't released what his role is going to be yet, but it's looking like Al Pacino's going to do the voice of the villain for this one. You have Julie Andrews doing the voice of the main character's mother, who is just this old country small little woman who likes her son but doesn't want to be in the same room as him. So it's a really, really fun movie. The trailer was absolutely hilarious for it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this one when it comes out.
Do you think they're going to show that locally?
I would be surprised if they don't. The first one was shown locally. They try and show at least one of the animated films every time one of them comes out. I'd be shocked if this one doesn't show locally.
Okay, what's next?
The next one, this is one that's actually available on DVD already. It's a couple of years old, but it's one of my favorites. It's Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Okay.
To sum this up in a really, 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 really simple way, it's a twist on an old story. And the basic plot of the movie is guy meets girl, guy falls in love with girl, guy must defeat girl's seven evil exes in order to be with her.
Oh.
So the whole movie is essentially Scott trying to vanquish these 7 evil exes who have banded together to form this evil organization to stop him from going out with his girlfriend.
Did they all live in Texas?
Actually, this is based in Canada.
Okay.
But stylistically, it is just over the top with nothing but video game references. Okay. Every time Scott defeats one of the evil exes, they explode in a shower of glitter and coins like an old Super Mario Brothers video game. No, exactly. That's the music that'll play in the background. At one point, he gets a 1-up, and it's this little pixelated 8-bit version of his own head. It's this absolutely over-the-top hilarious movie. At one point, a character grabs Scott by the arms, spins him around, and throws him into a bell tower. And as he swings him around and flips him, the word swoosh flies by the bottom of the screen. So it's like the old Adam West Batman TV show.
Right.
It's just absolutely over the top hilarious. Okay. And at one point, Scott starts using this almost like a lightsaber to fight with, and the first time you use it, it's called this really bad 1980s narrator comes up in the background. Scott has obtained the power of love. He starts fighting with this sword called the power of love. Near the end of the movie, he goes a step beyond that. Same narrator just runs into the frame for no reason, picks up the megaphone. Scott has obtained the power of self-respect.
Now this is on DVD.
This is on DVD. Okay. It's also on Netflix, so it's really easy to get a hold of. But what's really cool about Scott Pilgrim is, it's a comic book adapted into a movie, but the movie itself was actually adapted into a video game, which I've got a couple shots of it. But what's really fun about this one is they kind of took a step back. Just like the movie makes all these references to the old 1980s 8 and 16-bit video games, they made a 1980s style 16-bit video game based on the comic series. So it's like they did the old pixelated art style. They actually brought a Japanese composer who wrote the music for a bunch of arcade games in the 1980s. They brought him in, and he wrote the music for this game, so it's got that old pixelated sound to it. And it's like you're back in an arcade in 1987 playing Final Fight with your friends.
Right.
The difference is this one you download and install it onto an Xbox or a PlayStation 3.
Perfect.
But it's really, really fun. Both movies are great. They're I'm probably going to be watching Scott Pilgrim tonight just to relax at the end of the week.
Why do when you watch these animated movies, why do all of the characters have these seriously dilated pupils?
I kind of attribute it to the fact that one of the harder things to animate on people is the eyes. That's one of the complaints that people had with movies like the Jim Carrey version of A Christmas Carol, that the animation looked great, but the eyes always had this blank stare to them, because that's one of the harder things to do motion capture on. That's one of the harder things to animate, to get that much emotion through someone's eyes. But on that note, we actually have to go to a break.
Perfect. We'll head to a break and we'll be back. Stay with us.